Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Vincent, APA Justice, for having me. Dave Min out of Irvine was just elected in 2024 to represent the 47th Congressional District in California, which includes my home city of Irvine, as well as surrounding cities like Costa Mesa, Newport Beach, Laguna Beach, and Huntington Beach. And this is the part of the country that not so long ago Ronald Reagan described as the place where good Republicans go before they die. But it's also a place that thrives on diversity, thrives on immigration, on trade, on research and science. And, you might say that these are Asian values, that these are things that we have historically prioritized. And I'm very mindful as I say that my experience as the son of Korean immigrants is very different than a lot of experiences of those on this call, that when we talk about the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander diaspora, we are talking about people whose home countries represent roughly 60% of the global population. We have people that have come here in the early 1900s, and to as recently as like this year. And certainly the experience of, say, a Taiwanese, a Chinese person who came here 30 years ago is very different than a Vietnamese person who came over during the Vietnam War, is very different than, say, a Central Asian person who might have served in the Afghani War. So we are talking about a very broad set of experiences, but I do think we all share a lot in common. First, very recently, someone made a decision in our family tree to come to the United States because of the values that this country has always stood for. Values that right now are very much under attack. Immigration, diversity, and inclusion. The idea that you can come here from anywhere in the world, work hard, and make a living, a good living for yourself and the people that you have after you, what we call the American dream. And I know that because of that, what is happening in this country right now is very much a part of our lived experience. I know many Asian Americans I talk to are very, very deeply concerned about what is happening in this country. They're concerned about what's happening to democracy, because so many of our parents and grandparents grew up at times and in situations where countries fell to authoritarian regimes. And so when we talk about diversity, when we talk about the American dream, when we talk about democracy and the rule of law, for a lot of us, these aren't just buzzwords. They're central to why we are in America and part of our lived experience here. And so think because of those experiences, right now we are, I think, more concerned than many about what's happening in this country. It's, I think, why you've seen Asian Americans turn so quickly from, a lot of our brethren went and voted for Trump last election. What we're seeing right now is they're voting in the other direction very aggressively right now. And in Washington, D.C., all I can say is hyper cognizant of my own status as an Asian American at this time, hyper conscious of the fact that I think regardless of what happens in this country, I know we're living through a very important historical period, one that our kids and grandkids and great grandkids will all be reading about. And the decisions we make now will dictate the course, not just of America, but I think of human history. And so, very, very important time. But I also think that when I look around and I talk to Asian Americans, and I just held a Asian American NHPI Heritage Month celebration a couple days ago, and we were celebrating people from all over my district. We've made so much progress, and there's so much hope and joy you can see in the Asian American communities. When I grew up in California in the 1980s, Asian Americans were anything but cool. We were the punchline in pop culture and movies and TV shows if we appeared at all. Nobody knew what our countries were. Like growing up as a Korean American, nobody knew what Korea was. They always called me Chinese or Japanese, and that was not meant, by the way, like it might be today, as a compliment. And so, like living today, having kids and seeing how popular Asian culture is, not just our food, but our music, our television shows, our fashion. It really like puts so much joy in my heart personally. But we have a lot to do, whether it's standing up to ICE right now, the demonization of immigrants across the board, the major cuts to universities and education funding, just the major challenges we're facing right now. And of course, we're seeing a sharp rise in anti-Asian hate again. Not coincidentally, a rise in anti-China sentiment across the board. So we are very mindful in Washington, D.C., those of us in KPAC, in the Asian American caucus that we have a lot of work to do right now to stop the attacks on our values and our people, but also to go further. What does it mean when we talk about restoring the American dream? What is the right way in which Asian Americans can continue to increase our representation, our power, but to do this not only as Asian Americans, but as American Americans, as patriotic Americans? What do we bring to the table? And so those are a lot of conversations that we're having right now. One note I will just make, and then I think I'm ending my time here. I think that the Asian Americans in politics, we're not that many right now, but I think if we want to build a lasting legacy, we're going to have to stand for issues as much as with individual personalities. I love Ted Lieu, I love Judy Chu, Mark Takano, Ami Bera. But when they retire, when they get older, we have to have a legacy that goes beyond just their accomplishments, beyond the accomplishments of people like Derek Tran, etc. We need to stand for issues, and I don't know exactly what those issues are. Maybe they're around immigration, maybe they're around education or small business or mental health. But right now, if you look around in Washington or in state capitals around the country, people, if they're talking about immigration, will go talk to the Latinos. If they're talking about racial justice or criminal justice reform, they'll go talk to the African American or Black caucuses. On certain issues, they'll talk to the Women's Caucus. Nobody talks to us about issues right now, and I think that really needs to change. And something I know Marilyn Strickland, Grace Meng, and I are all advocating for is we need to be identified with issues. We need to have more of a voice on key issues because, as they say, when you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And right now, I think Asian American priorities, whether they're disaggregation, anti-discrimination, on and on, our values are on the menu, and we need, and our priorities are on the menu, so we need to change that. But again, thank you so much. So much work to do. Appreciate your role and everything. And again, happy AANHPI Heritage Month.